Hello everyone and welcome back to the WenDirkCast with me, Calvinator, and my good friend Jimbo. And as always, we're going to discuss the latest MFL updates, transfers, developments, and much more as the weeks go by. One important note, this is not financial advice. You might also say not tactical advice, or like last week, psychological advice. Do your own scouting, hire a director of Metaverse football, or get a BetterHelp subscription. You can do everything. We're not responsible for anything. But Jimbo, how are you doing? You recovered a little bit after last week. That's the Winston breakdown.
Yeah, it was good to get last week sort of off my chest, and I think it was taken well by the community. Hopefully, not everyone thought it was just me ranting for a rather large amount of time. It was actually trying to be some useful information, but I'm better now. Yeah,
get it off your chest. But yeah. What's the plan today? What are we going to do?
So today we have a manager spotlight, and with us in the studio today, obviously if you're watching, you can already see who it is on the screen right now. But for those listening and who want the suspense of who it is in the studio with us, I'm so excited for this one today. It has been penciled in for what must be now a month, and we I spoke to this person. We invited me on his stream actually. We said we'll get it done afterwards, but we wanted to be patient. We wanted this individual to gain a bit more knowledge, maybe take part in a few more WenDirk quizzes, because that's the way to fast track your knowledge. And some say if it wasn't for this person unpacking a Colmar location, there would never have been Disney dollars. So I would like to give a warm welcome to Mr. Andrew Laird. How are you, chap?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on. I didn't think I was going to get any credit for the Disney dollars thing, so that's a nice surprise.
I was thinking, should I go back and actually figure out which came first, Colmar or Disney? So that fact or statement could be completely wrong, but I like it anyway, so I'm sticking with it.
I think you're right. And anyone who tries to look up anything differently, I think is just trying to stir up some trouble. That's all.
Well, if Disney dollars came before Colmar, we at least know that one thing is true, and that's the lead boom. We know that thing. We know that is true. So I've got to get that one off the chest. Early doors. That's like when you said the S word on stream when you had me on that time. I can say that's like the equivalent. This is the English version for like an American pool. I'd say lead boom.
I'm like, I don't want to say I'm really uncomfortable with it, but I'm slightly uncomfortable with that. And it's not that I haven't brought a couple people to MFL, and you guys obviously have seen more new people recently. I don't want to like take credit. I do know enough people who have joined when I did, but I think what's nice is just like it was just a lot of new people, including myself, like finding a game that we have found extremely engaging and fun. And so if I can at least take a little credit for allowing people to have some more fun in their life, then I'll take credit for that.
I love that.
Laird boom. Already the first hashtag, boom. Possible hashtag. But, later on, keep listening for the real hashtag. We probably have to talk first about the drop yesterday. So we all participated in it. How did you think it went? I mean, there was, of course, a big hype again. A little dapper mishap, we could say.
A bit of validating. I saw Laird in your stream earlier. People were saying, everything's just about validated or processed now. So, yeah, it just seemed that was the only hiccup yesterday. And we're saying yesterday, not Wednesday, because we are recording this on a Thursday evening rather than our usual Sunday. So it's worth we get that out of the way first before when we get to Splash of the Weeks or the Diamond or our moments of the week, someone will go, well, why have you mentioned this result that happened on Saturday and Sunday? It's because we've still got a couple of days left of the week. So just bear that in mind. But coming back to the stream, I thought it was great. I think we had record numbers in the quiz again, which is great to see. Well over 140.
Yeah, around 150 again, but 130. I think it was a little bit less than the massive one last time, but it was a huge Season 5 hype and crazy prizes, I think. And now we still had great numbers, like 130, I think. And it was really good, yeah. Massive hype, sold out quickly again. Like a little validation, I think for some people it went wrong. For most people it settled. In the end, it went through in the end. So hugely successful. Did we Laird, did you pack any new superstars? What did you buy? Nothing. No.
I
Pain?
did a stream today, Thursday, where I opened the packs, and I titled it something like "Help on the Way." I think that's what it was, and with the hope that I would get players who would help my 3 existing clubs that I play. They're my clubs, and I was extremely disappointed in what I opened because I didn't get anything better than expected. But the more I talked through it, the more I realized like what I got was probably exactly what I needed to help my clubs. And so then it wasn't until after the stream where I was like, man, I feel a bit bad about this, because I felt like I was a little negative.
Okay.
It just felt like such a spoiled brat. Like I didn't get anything better. But like what I got might actually be extremely helpful for my clubs. And so I guess you could call that successful.
So that's kind of good. But can you give like one example, like one kind of player you first thought he doesn't fit, and then it's like, oh, actually.
Well, I don't want to say they all fit. I think so. I got one 20-year-old, and I think everyone else was like 25 and 26. I got 7 total players. Do you guys call them cards or players?
We just say players. I think I said players.
I call them players.
Like a new player.
But that's the same question people had last week. Do you call them stats or do you call them attributes? It's like that. Stat attributes.
Yeah. Anyway,
you got one guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So I got one that I think will definitely help kind of my better team, which is really the team that I wanted to improve the most. I think selfishly, I was just like, oh, let me get 3 Legos and then I'll loan them out and I'll win all this MFL. And that wouldn't have really helped my teams at all. And so, I think I ended up getting, thankfully, something good. He was like 59 rated, which I think he was 59. Maybe it was a little higher, 60, whatever it was. Like I'm in Spark, and so that's like a solid player that I can probably start a couple times. I'm still in the cup in my higher team, so having a little more depth will help for sure.
I think you were hard done by in some of the packs. So like the average age is you were on the upper end of that scale, and I think the uncommon you got at the end, you realise that he's like 5'5" or something as well. Is he a cam or was he a right mid? I can't remember what position he was now.
Yeah, a 5'5" cam with like 32 physical, and I was just like, oh, great.
One game when he's out for 4, he gets injured playing basically.
Right, the perfect rotation piece because I can only play him once before he can't play again.
Maybe this is a good connection actually with my moment of the week. Of course, we had a shorter week. So there's not really a lot of matches. Actually, we barely played any matches. Maybe the last round of the cup, maybe we can talk about that. But speaking about this and about ripping packs, I did a little tweet that one guy I pulled from a Season 1 rewards. I also made a video about it. I was a little bit disappointed. He was like 77 CM or 78 CM, not too good. And of course, you always hope for 80 plus, or like Nep yesterday, like 84. Like that's what you want to get. Although Nep still was disappointed apparently by that guy. But this dude, now this 78, now turned into 87 CM with amazing stats. So maybe first initially you were like same with you right now with the ones you got. They could easily, one can have great potential and can turn into a way better pool in the end. Retrospectively. You never know that. That is the good thing about progression. So in the end, I'm super happy I pulled that guy, but you don't know then at that time from the pack. So I think my moment of the week was seeing him improving like crazy. Also today in training, he gained another 2 +1s in attributes. And then just realizing, don't be too disappointed. Wait 5-6 years and then you really can judge what was in your pack. So I think that's my moment.
I'll go on. I'll go next. And before I say mine, I actually want to give a little shout out to Work the Space and one of the players he pulled yesterday. So he bought a rare pack of Floaty and it contained a legendary upgrade to a 90 rated goalkeeper, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. And some people in the, I'll say Palmer was suggesting that he goes and ats a person on Discord and says, "Great sale, look what you could have had." Fortunately, Jack was like, "No, I'm not that guy." So I think that was probably one of the biggest pulls I saw yesterday. and I saw a few other legendary as well. But I think, an upgrade, not only to you would have seen the goalkeeper and you'd probably been like, oh God, here we go. Then you realise a 90 rated goalkeeper, and top goalkeepers are in high demand. So I think he's got him on a platinum.
Yeah, he's definitely starter. I think in diamond maybe even, or just now definitely plat starter. Plus for sure 1 progression 91. So I think he'll be a great goalie that he can keep loaning out for decent rev share in. So that's a amazing pool. Yeah, content creator luck. He said right.
Yeah.
Some might call it rigged. Some call it content creator luck. 2 sides of the coin. Glass half full or empty, but yeah.
Exactly. but nonetheless, my moment of the week probably will be that I've managed to bring in the left and right backs for the Wyverns. I said I purchased a left back, which I needed to do. And I thought, I'll purchase one. I think he's 25, average age retirement decrease as well, for what it's worth. And then I think it was Rob Rain he popped in our Discord and said, I've got a right back. Where should I put him? And I was like, I should do this with him. But if you want, I'll take him on the Wyverns. And so I just sent him an offer and he accepted it. So I've now got the ability to rotate between 3 and 4 at the back, which is nice. So maybe come next week's episodes, I won't be complaining about 3 at the back. I'll be complaining about 4 at the back instead. So that's what I've got to look forward to. But I'm excited. I've been doing some testing. So what second half of the season is mine.
What I actually realized is with my gold team, I also play 3 in the back. And I joined all
Everyone's
discussions.
telling me it's a skill issue. So everyone's been saying, Jimbo, it's not the engine, it's you. You're just a proxy manager.
I think it works also with individual instructions, but I guess
there's so many variables involved in every user's tactic that it's so hard to say this should work because it's a completely different setup. But Dane did give me a few pointers with a 3-5-2. I think it's even B setup that he's been having success with. So I'm having played with that at the moment to see what I can get out of it. And we won our last cup game, even though it meant nothing because we're already knocked out. But it's MFL at the end of the day. So
now you get some. Now it matters.
So
okay, so Laird, you have a little moment this week or highlight of the past week or weeks.
So I apologize if someone's done this before. This is it. Like, being on this show is like watching you start. It was like I've done other shows before that I listen to regularly, and I don't know. There was like watching you start this. I was like, I know exactly what he's going to say because I listened to it now, and it's like very surreal being on the show right now. Like, and maybe, part of it is because I haven't had games in a couple days and my progression isn't moving anywhere, it feels like. And so I can't think of anything else. But genuinely, like this is absolutely a highlight because I treat MFL very differently than any other game I play. And I just have so much fun doing so many different parts of it. Talking about it is obviously one of them. And like being able to sit down with you guys is really, really cool. And I was going to say this at some point, so I'm just going to say it now since I'm speaking. But you guys probably don't think of this maybe ever, but you two are so important to this community that I've been like fortunate enough to become a part of that, whether even it's just like with a pack drop, we know that like you guys are going to be there and like walk us through it. And that this WenDirkCast comes out every week, and Jimbo, you stream throughout the week and like become part of other people's experience of enjoying this game. And so, somebody who has like done content for a long time in different kind of areas, the MFL community, and I'm sure there are plenty of other games like that have a community like this. I just don't happen to be in any of them, but having like consistent voices and faces make the experience just feel a lot more personal. And so this is like by far like my MFL highlight of the week. And I just like had to say like, thank you to you guys for all that you do regularly, because it's so important and everybody knows it. And I don't know if they tell you. And so I'm here to tell you like, thank you. And like, we really appreciate everything you guys do.
Wow. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And you're the first to do this, by the way. So you're amazing. Great to hear that. Lovely to hear that.
I'm taking.
I'm
I'm
always
taking
like,
it back.
you know, like
I'm taking it
too
back.
much praise. But thanks, yes.
No, you guys, honestly, like you deserve it. And it, you know, clearly you guys do this because you love this game and you love talking about it, and everybody that becomes part of your experience enjoys it as well, and you get to enjoy it with them. And yeah, thank you.
I love that from
Yes,
you, Laird. I absolutely
amazing,
love that from
amazing. Lovely to hear that. Yes.
you. And we're super glad to have you part of the MFL community as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, but then we all indeed, it builds like the community, the voices, indeed, as you said, and you have like opinions, learning from each other. Yeah, we're definitely, maybe we started a little bit, but now we have so many other voices, and it's, I think, very valuable to have people, and you can kind of learn from, relate to, and share experiences or hear similar experiences. You're not alone, like those kind of things. So
yeah, I think also just obviously you guys have been here since like basically the beginning, like you from the like when I called Jimbo a pro and everybody decided to pile on that. Yeah. It was like you guys have like all the experiences here, and I am new, and because obviously most people know me from working with SoRare, that I kind of play the role that you guys do on SoRare. Like I stream or do podcasts regularly, and I've been around a while, and so it's just like I've become kind of a consistent voice for others. And I'm new here, and I'm like, oh, you are those guys here. And so it's just like, it's, I at least feel like I can appreciate all of the stuff that you guys have done to get here. And it's great that like there are enough that people are appreciative of seeing you throughout the process and being able to learn from you. And I will say, like, it's the best part is particularly in like the Discord, that you guys set up, the WenDirkCast Discord, that, if there's any question, like you guys are there, and it's just a very feels like a very collaborative community, but you guys are kind of the hosts of it, and it's great. It's great.
I really appreciate that, Laird. Thank you. It means a lot coming from you, Chad.
Let's quickly move on, because we get to...
This is what I mean. I can tell you what to move on. He wanted to move on. I was laughing.
Amazing. Thank you for that. And we really, truly appreciate
Best
it.
moment of the week so far, I think.
Indeed. Yeah. Amazing moment of the week. Amazing. So now usually what we do is dev updates. But of course, we record Thursday, and tomorrow are the next dev updates. But I thought, Laird, with you, we can discuss a couple of the things you're working on and get your take on things. So one of the debates is about the photorealistic project, that's how they call it, like the AI guys, and replace the artwork with those AI-generated photos. What is your opinion on that?
I hate it.
You hate it? Okay, yeah. Explain. Please explain.
Yeah, so my biggest, and maybe we'll get into this in a little later, but like my biggest kind of problem I had with before I joined MFL was like, oh, they're fake players. And I'm like, oh, they're not even like fake players, or like just cartoons. Like that's how I was looking at it. And once you get into it, they're still fake players, of course, and they're still, essentially cartoons. But it wasn't until, I think Nep was the first one that I saw, but like it wasn't until somebody was like, hey, I put this player in a ChatGPT, and here's like what they look like in real life. And I'm like looking at it, and I was like, that person doesn't exist, but it looks like it like psychologically, like I was like, what is going on here? And to have an entire game of people who characters that look like us, like real, just like us, and they don't exist anywhere on Earth, it's just like it blows my mind a little bit. And I feel like what they have now allows me to kind of separate, to be like, okay, this is a game, and like that's what it is. But like, yeah, I don't know, I'm the only one who was like, please don't do this, but I'm struggling to get on board with it.
Yeah, I'm also a big fan, and the artwork is unique. I think it really gives character to the game, and indeed, maybe it starts to look too real. it gets a bit really metaversey and mixed with reality, and this really stands out. But I think I know the team is great, and I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, and maybe they can showcase, or like, this is how it's going to look like. Maybe we can try it out in a certain environment and then have some kind of community discussion. I hope they do it like that, because it's a very controversial topic, right? It splits the community, I think.
I think probably from all the time that Calva we've spent in MFL, probably the one topic that has literally split the community. So you're either strongly one side, strongly the other, or you're sat on the fence with it. I'm an iron about it. I see both sides to why keep it as it is and why change it. And I think it just, whichever way. Because I listened to the Ramble pod last week that had Work the Space on. He was saying he quite likes the AI because for Football Manager, so they have their regens, and their basic model regens are pretty naff, but you can install like AI mod packs to make them look photorealistic. And I think he said he really enjoys that side to it. I think Matt's come on the pod before, and said about how, it just makes MFL look a bit more, say, like professional. I think maybe something along those lines in terms of your, like advertising as a product, as a whole product, and having photorealistic perhaps looks better from the outside than the sort of the cartoon. Oh, not cartoon, but sort of the generated players at the moment. I say cartoon, but then again,
I said cartoon.
Okay. Matt also calls it like, that's some feedback he gets sometimes. Oh, it's a bit cartoonish,
Yeah. But I think it's what sets, like, makes it's unique. I think that's the word I want to continuously use. And the artwork, whenever you see it, you immediately cotton on and say, "Oh no, that's MFL."
Yeah. But that also another thing what Matt said, and I can ask Laird also about it, is about the UI in general. Like, kind of a new AI would be coupled with kind of a new UI kind of thing. Do you feel like the current user interface is great, or would you also like a bit of an overhaul on that front?
I don't really think there's anything that, like, I never get to a point on the site where I'm just like, man, this is really missing this, and which is the opposite of like how NepentheZ goes through, because he's always asking for something new. But I don't think so, to be honest. Like, I've said to Matt, and I've said to a couple other people, that it just feels like they've thought of everything. Now, I don't necessarily think that every idea has come from them. Surely there are like some people in the community who are like, hey, how about this? But they're extremely quick to develop, which is great to see in a game that's like pretty well established. But I did kind of want to go back to the AI thing, because and it's more, again, it's just like me mentally thinking of it. But when I talked to Matt, like the first time I talked to him, I was like, look, I just want to be honest that I'm like struggling with this like fake footballer thing. And he was like, I can't remember if he said, think about it this way, or like, this is how he thinks about it. I'll say he's telling me to think of this, because I don't want to like take thoughts out of his head. He was like, they're not fake footballers. They're just like footballers in the metaverse. And then I had to like basically get my head around the idea of like multi-universes that are, parallel universes. And this one just happens to like, they all look like they do, and they're real, but they're just somewhere else. And I was like, this is a lot more than I thought I was going to get out of a football management game. And so, but I hate to say, like, I've gotten over it, in the same way that like when I started So Rare, when NFTs were, starting to become more popular, and I just was like, the idea of an NFT seemed so dumb to me. And I was like, what do you mean people are going to pay hundreds or thousands of dollars for these things? And I'm not sure I ever really got over it, but I got to the point where I was like, if other people find value in this, then there's value in it, just because I don't necessarily do. And so the whole like fake versus alternative universe thing still goes in my head, but I've moved on, and now I just hope to get Legos out of a standard pack.
Two
Yes.
Legos.
All right, great. Good to get your take on that. Maybe one more item. Well, there's like a couple of things in progress. Maybe you have one opinion about it. Like, another thing they they work on is, well, of course, the engine. They keep developing the engine. Feel free to also share maybe a short take about the engine. The marketplace offers, that's I think a huge thing. And new onboarding. What would you prioritize out of those three?
Honestly, I think the onboarding is excellent. Like for a lot of fantasy games, it's just not that easy. And I feel like I came into it, like if I can easily figure it out, then I think most people could figure it out. Like I'll honestly put it that way. And so I think the onboarding is fine. What was the one just before you said onboarding?
Well, marketplace offer. So of course they want to make sure everything is in app and not floaty, right? That you have to go there and make offers.
Yeah, I think that helps. Going to a third party site for any of it always starts to feel not that it's like questionable at all, but just being able to do it right on MFL would be great. I've been looking at adding clubs. I'll just put it that way. I have this like secret plan that I don't want to talk about, but but there are a couple clubs on the market. But just the idea of like having to go to Floaty to make an offer if I can't find them on Discord or whatever. It's like I don't really want to like go to another site to do it. So I do think that marketplace offers would be really helpful. Even if it was being able to communicate through the site, come to an agreement, and then it gets done on Floaty, like figure that out. But yeah, just staying on the MFL site is, I think, the ideal situation.
Yes, great. Jimbo, anything before we move?
No, there was. I say no, and then I'm going to go talk about something.
So
it's not no, it's yes.
Yeah.
It was. I think I saw Fraj post in the engine feedback channel yesterday about some things in the engine which he'd like to see improved, and one of them was the successful dribbles. And I found it was interesting. He was basically saying, you know, dribbling or however it's calculated is like doesn't seem right when you've got players who are doing like 25 to 30 successful dribbles a game, and you look at in the Premier League. I think he used an example of Jeremy Doku saying that his successful dribbles per game is about 4.5, and he's widely considered one of the highest successful dribblers in the Premier League, if not the highest. So how can you go from 4.5 in the Premier League, which is often in many metrics within MFL seen as they benchmark against it, to suddenly you got players averaging 25 to 30? And then Quinton's response was interesting, and he actually shared a video of what he was trying to highlight as well, saying that if a player, essentially what classes as a successful dribble is if a player's running with the ball and a defender from the side attempts a challenge but misses it or doesn't get the ball, that's considered like a successful dribble. Whereas I guess for us, it's successful dribble is like you've taken on your man, you've taken it round him, you've gone past him. I don't know the actual definition. I'm just
that's the thing. What is a dribble?
But it was interesting that maybe that highlights. I'm not sure that it highlights anything wrong with the engine as such, but it's interesting how that stat is created, how it's even happened, that players can dribble 25, 30 times successfully, not on one game, but over consecutive games. Doesn't seem very realistic in my opinion.
No. Yeah, it's just, if you walk a little bit with the ball, is it a dribble or you have to pass a guy? Yeah, right.
Because dribbling seems quite, in some situations, can seem quite overpowered as well. A player would just go past like 3 of your players. You're like, oh, hang on. That's one of his 30 dribbles this game. Yeah.
I guess just like look at how Opta is defining those things. Like the institutions, the organizations who measure that, who measure XG, who measure successful dribbles, successful tackles, duels won, kind of try to mimic. To mimic their data or ways of measuring those kind of data.
I actually just pulled it up, the Opta definition, because I've spent way too much of my life arguing with people about Opta definitions.
Oh yeah.
But I looking at the numbers that show up on MFL, it's almost like they consider any dribble that doesn't lose possession as a successful dribble. So if the player dribbles the ball and then passes it, that's a successful dribble. They dribbled successfully and got rid of the ball, but by Opta standards, that's not a successful dribble. Like a successful dribble has to have an opponent piece to it.
Yeah.
And so you actually have to, I mean, I'll literally read it.
You have to pass someone, right? Is that essentially what it is?
It says a successful dribble means the player beats the defender while retaining possession. Unsuccessful ones are where the dribbler is tackled. So even if you play out of the back and you dribble 25 yards and then just pass it to your center mid, that's not a successful dribble because there's not a defender anywhere. But I think on MFL, like it feels like the numbers are so high that that's what they're considering a successful dribble. So I don't think the engine's wrong. I think it's just that they're like counting the wrong thing.
Yeah, the way it's calculated is just wrong, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Well, good to hear. Maybe Quentin will share that there will be a bit more debate about it. Diamond League, that's now our topic. I don't think much has changed since the last time. Well, we recorded on Sunday, and I think only two matches extra have been played in the league. Yes. Although Meta widened the gap, they are now 5 points. So after the first half of the season, they have a 5-point gap to number 2, Bishone Milano. Dio did a good job, keeps winning. He's now 3rd. Then Joga, Tango, Legends, Naples Goldfeathers, 3X are all pretty close to each other between places 3 to 8. There's only 3 points separating them. Then Roma 14, and then 3 teams that are already, I would say, panic mode, Defcon 3, something like that. Samba 8 points, Atletico, Eric Barbaric 6 points, and the Diamond Eyes of Nep 0 points, and no extra goals scored, but that's not surprising. Jimbo, any reaction to this? After one half, we can look Diamond League after one half.
Yeah, one half. I think I said last pod that is it too bold a statement to say that bottom 3 is the bottom 3 and they're going down? I think it's probably not a bold statement. Although I think Samba's most recent win was against Eric's de Mexico. So that's obviously a 6-pointer, but it's not really a 6-pointer because you're still 6 points out of getting out of the relegation zone. But yeah, it looks like the bottom 3 is near enough set halfway through, which is kind of a bit disappointing. You want to see a bit more competition there. But
the race for kind of 2 to 8 is super close to each other, so that's pretty exciting, I would say.
Yeah,
like kind of Meta Mercenaries and then the rest and those other teams. So Laird, my usual question is, do you kind of watch Diamond League? Do you keep an eye on that? Because we try to hype it a bit, we try to make it, turn it into kind of a Premier League that people watch for fun and cheer certain teams. Maybe do you do that? And do you think it has more potential if we grow that people are really watching Diamond League?
The only time I think of it is when you bring it up on the
show. I knew you were going to say that.
Okay.
That's what a lot of people say. Like, we just do the weekly updates for them in Diamond League.
Yeah.
What I'm more curious about the Diamond League is, what do you think it will take for Meta Mercenaries to not win for the rest of time?
Ronan to get his Dapper account blocked and suspended.
Well, I don't know, but like also, how is he really that dominant? I think there was one season, right? It was like 2 seasons ago that he.
There was one season out of 13 we've had, right?
Pretty bad season.
Where he wasn't dominant.
He can have his bad seasons. I really call like Bayern Munich. Usually they win a PSG, but they can have exceptions. But it's going to be super, super interesting with, I think, progression and the pools he gets, the legendary players, to replace that. Maintaining those ultimate players, those top players. I think that's going to be super hard. So it might take 5 to 10 seasons. It might take a long time. But then I think it's going to be very hard to... You need progression. You cannot buy ultimates, right? You need progression. So you need to find them. You need to buy them. You need to... Or loan them in. And I think some other people out there, they're also very shrewd. And I know, for example, Dio is super good with spotting progression and selecting for it and buying potential. So I wonder, I think next season he'll be super dominant, but when people start retiring, maybe he also gets bad luck.
The
maybe
first full reset.
Maybe 4 of his best players suddenly, bad luck, announce early retirements. Maybe it got too boring for them, They got tired of winning, right, as they say. So maybe then how to replace it, how to keep it up. I think that's going to be a huge challenge in 5 seasons, 10 seasons.
Well, I feel like the hardest thing will be if nobody wants to sell to them, and like then if you're just wholly reliant on winning enough MFL to get enough packs to get enough guys who will keep you up there. And I'm not telling anybody to stop selling to them, but like that's the way to do it, right?
Yeah. No, exactly.
You can always get the checkbook out. There's always a number.
Sure.
Like fear and greed, the two emotions that run this world.
Yeah.
Fear of not being dominant and the greed of getting more players to be dominant.
But it's like, who are the guys who can buy Lego packs? I mean, maybe some lower guys can also buy a Lego pack, but I think I just had enough to do it, but I rather have 8 or 7 rare packs. I go for that instead of a Lego pack. But I think in those areas, in the Diamond League, they go for 3-4 Lego packs per season. So then it really depends on the pools. And then, if there's other guys in Diamond, their competitors get the better ones, the better pools, who turn into Ultimates, then Ronin has a problem.
That's the thing as well, with the pools of players for the raw packs, you often see there'll be like 12, 13 legendary packs just sat there throughout the season. No one wants them because they know the pool of players from there will not upgrade their players. So it's like, do you rush to start with and grab them, or do you just sort of go, well, actually, I don't want an 85 rated player. I want a 92, and all the 91 plus rated players are gone. I'll just hold fire and grab 3 or 4 next season rather than just the 2 now. So there is strategy in that. So add an extra flavour. So.
Yeah, so it's I'm very curious to see. Ronan is very dominant right now, but sometimes also he has a bad season with engine or formations, and the engine never. It remains a mystery. But we'll see. Very curious how Diamond League will develop. Now let's talk about the market. Of course, also like five days since we last recorded, but so we found some good splashes and some other interesting stories. So instead of shouting out a lot of managers, I changed my approach to one manager of the week. And actually, Jimbo, I became interested in Slippery Fish. You remember?
Do you not want to have your own jingle about this, like manager of the week?
Maybe
have your own one you've got to do.
Or I called it relatively new manager of the week because Slippery Fish is not so super new. But he won the quiz yesterday, and I was like, who the hell is Slippery Fish? And we were both like, who's Slippery Fish? But so I did a little, I checked out his profile and everything. He's from Australia, Melbourne. I think we said it on the stream. What is interesting about his agency is that he has 97 players, but not one of them is better than 49 overall. So all his players, 97, are below 50. And he bought all of them with just $1. So I think that quantity strategy we talked about, he is the one who tries to do that. He does manage 4 clubs, one in Ice, rest in Spark. And the Ice club he bought is from Perth, so Australia, so that makes sense. What is also interesting is that the Ice team he bought for only like $80 has a lot of rares. It's super stacked. It's first in the league. And all the players are from Zoe. You know Zoe, Jimbo? Who's Zoe? Buys galleries.
The gallery buyer.
The gallery guy, yeah.
I mean, this is when we know enough so rare people that come across when we sort of got gallery buying.
Gallery buyer.
The classic so rare. And you've got it in the username as well. That's one thing I can take away from
exactly.
Gallery buying.
But it's weird, like he gets all his players and then he just decided to chuck them in an Ice team and then for 72% rev share. So Slippery got it. I think it's a pretty good deal. 28% rev share he gets to keep. Plus his team will promote now because of that stacking, but then I think next season in Stone he's gonna have a huge problem because he only has 49 overall. But curious to see what his quantity strategy, how many of those low commons will become limited and uncommon, etc. Some other things, I spotted one of the oldest transfers so far, I think. And what I mean with oldest is that Wolfie, he bought a 69 centre back who's 32. So buying a 32-year-old player, I don't think many people do that, for 15 USD from NJM. But no retirement announcement, so at least that is a good sign. So 4 more seasons. Rare players, Dio is buying again. He was doing some progression harvesting, but he's spending. 83 Centimid 22 for 350 USD. So that's a pretty good investment, I think. And NLR also keeps buying legendary players. I think he's kind of an underrated agent who secretly has a pretty big agency right now full of Legos. He got a 86, I think around 83, should be 86 rated. Right mid 23 from Kizio. Clubs, then finally Cabbage. I think this is Barky McLovin's or Jason's dad. Because he mentioned this, I think, in WenDirk General, right? He bought a silver club from Agadir, Morocco, for 350 USD. Kind of just got the buck, and now he keeps spending and has a silver club now. So that is also great.
Yeah, that's brilliant. He posted that in the WenDirk Discord and said he captioned it when MFL is live. He knows I'm at work, and basically Jason's dad has messaged him and said, "Ring me, need to buy a silver club and want your approval." And then probably less than like a minute later, he's gone, "Too late, I've bought it." Which is great. And it's great to see sort of like the son and father and son MFL bond going in there. We always joke about like father and sons in playing football, and now we've got the father and son of football management as well. So maybe that's his way of getting one over his son. Is like, "I bought a club in silver. Where are you?" "Oh, down an iron or so." Look down on him. There's always, Christmas dinners will be fun whenever they have all. And
I really wonder in 10 years, like we had like Duff and Taggart, and they have, I think, kids around 6. So maybe in 6 years, like 12, say, that becomes, I think, the age when they can start managing 1 or 2 clubs for them. So when next gen, is a good hashtag. Okay, splash time.
Splash of the week. There you go. There's a little smile there. I saw that. A little. Listen to it for many, many weeks. Now we'll get time to hear it in person. Yeah, no pre-recorded nonsense around here.
No, yeah.
So that's not like a shout or diss to anyone, by the way. I just always say that. But Brent Gallagher, this is the player in question today. It is the BFC DAO, the Ballers DAO going ham again, with some massive purchases. Purchasing Brent Gallagher, who's 92 rated, for $2,100. I wasn't quite sure if we'd get a decent sized splash this week, considering we've only been 3-4 days, but lo and behold, on the 13th of May, 2 days ago, there was 22 years old, triple position, centre mid, cam and CDM, so he can play anywhere centrally. 54 pace, which if, maybe this is the one scenario where if pace actually contributed to that position, it would bring his overall down, but fortunately it contributes 0% to a centre mid's overall, which I think is criminal, but that's for another whole episode in my opinion. 86 shooting, 96 passing, 91 dribbling, 87 defending, and 87 physical. Being purchased from you, our good friend, you, which is quite interesting. Obviously, he's in the relegation battle, so I did a little quick look to see if maybe he's released him for BFC Barcelona, and he's not. And I guess it's on the basis that a 92 rated player, the best environment for them will be within Diamond in terms of match XP. BFC Barcelona are tearing it up right now in Platinum and will be champions unless something catastrophically goes wrong second half of the season. So there's no point bringing him down, and they can still earn some extra MFL. I think he's on 2% at Samba FC with you. So it's actually a nice little flip as well. I say flip. You bought him from Hertha as a 91 rated player middle of March for $1,400, and then sells him on for a $700 profit before fees, before tariffs, which could make it down to a couple hundred at that point. But no, great. Another massive purchase, and the Ballers DAO making moves. Obviously, were once a Diamond League winner back in Alpha seasons, and obviously were relegated last season. Now they're like, right, can't be having this.
Yeah, obviously a wake-up call.
Go big.
And then coming back up. And maybe then they can straight challenge for the title. Even.
They did purchase that player for McBride, Hossian, last week, and he's been unbelievable. Like, I think they purchased him when he was an 87 rated player.
The Hussein Ben, the one?
No. No, this is a different guy. That's Hussein. I think this is HOSS. And I think they bought him from McBride, 87 rated, and I think he's now like a 91 rated player in a week. Like
That's
it's
crazy.
honestly it's unreal. Like every day he's progressing, and they're all just like in that down. They're sort of like, woohoo, let's go, celebrating, and I'm here celebrating. One of my players going up an overall in.
And McBride is like,
2
don't
weeks.
tell me,
Yeah.
He must be feeling so bad.
It's-
Like, plus 3 extra after selling. This is like always when you feel bad about selling. Is like maybe he can still go up, or maybe he will go up, and then a plus 3 of a Lego
Never go
in
back.
3 days is sick.
Never go back and look.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like checking in on your exes. Like there's no point looking. Like don't bother doing it
Don't do it. Delete.
unless you know
unfriend,
you're going to be the winner.
Unfollow. Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. IRL MFL. Jimbo, you wrote something.
I've put limbs, and everyone should know what limbs are when it comes to celebrating goals. Absolute limbs. During now that the championship season is finished, we've got the playoffs, and the playoff final this year will be between Sheffield United and Sunderland. I hope it's not Sheffield United because I'll just go up and be a diamond heist and diamond, but in the Prem. No. I'm joking, Air Japes, Josh, and Nep, please. But Sunderland, I think it was like the 120th minute, scored from a corner to make it 1-1, but they went through an aggregate. And I just love seeing these last-minute goals. Pure limbs from the fans going left, right, centre, everywhere. And the best bit, if you've not had the chance to, folks, go and listen to it or watch it with the Sunderland commentary on there as well. All the voice cracks, all of the hybrids. Oh my God! Like, it's just everything. It's when you watch those sort of scenes, even if you hate Sunderland, which actually probably for a Newcastle fan, you despise what's just happened. But as a neutral in that sort of match, when I see all those limbs and the energy, I know how that feels from being in games and seeing that before. And I don't get jealous of it. I'm like, oh, you know what? Fair play to you. You've had an unforgettable moment there, last minute in a playoff semi-final. Now, if they can go, hopefully do it off at Wembley as well, make it even better. But just saying, when limbs in MFL, when can we get little fans invading the pitch? Hopefully not the who's it? Was it Hanover? Did you say it was?
Yeah,
Hamburg.
Hasvo.
Yeah, that destroyed their pitch. So, they probably all, wasn't it Fiago or something like that posted all about. And he got like tens of millions of views or something. He's like, technically, he took a bit of grass from the pitch and planted it in his back garden. I'm like, technically, if
he contributed to it too. He joined it.
Yeah, but technically, if the right people see that, they be like, hang on, we might if club representatives see that, even they could go, well, actually, probably committed a crime there, so you could just ban you. But maybe that's content creators' luck. So.
I think he gets enough credit for hyping them up or promoting them or Hansful, but yeah, it's a bit shady. But speaking about that, yesterday on the stream, first of all, Zoeter was taking the piss, about like congrats on PSV, because yesterday was the Dutch League, PSV Ajax, and Ajax had to, win. If PSV was already winning, Ajax also had to win, and they were 2-1 up. So I thought, and then we started the stream, so I didn't check anymore. So I thought he was taking the piss, like look like Ajax will be champions after all. But then it was like the ninth minute of added time, I think, or 10th.
Yeah.
And then they scored, and there's also great footage about limbs in Groningen.
Yeah.
And then also the PSV game already ended, and then players were walking around in the stadium, and then someone heard Groningen still scored. And then also the PSV stadium went wild after the game. It was also amazing to see. You can check it on Twitter. But there's still one game to go, and also now PSV now has the pressure and all the, the tension. So maybe they still can give it away. It's like flip-flopping on the. So it will be an amazing game day on Sunday. So
bottle jobs.
We'll know we'll get the Dutch title. But I don't. Yeah, about IRL MFL. I wonder if morale and nervous and like kind of nerves if that will ever be part of the game, but.
Get a bit shaky.
If you play sport yourself, like it can really get on your legs, and like we have to win, and it can really hurt your performance, I think.
Some sort of calmness attribute.
Yeah, calmness, exactly. Staying cool under. Or you have like big game players, or people who only perform smaller games.
Little game players.
Yeah, like what kind of personality? Little game. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to like go back for a second because you were like Ajax just had to win yesterday. Like they could have won any of their last like 5 or 6. And
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
they
They totally gave it away. Yeah,
Dropped it big time.
they totally gave it away. But they were very lucky in previous games, and maybe so now it broke them up finally. That they're not playing too well. Definitely not Ajax like how Ajax should play. Very Italian with their Italian coach, of more like solid defense and try to create chances like that. So they didn't deserve it, but then PSV gave it away, so they didn't deserve it. And now PSV plays well again, so maybe they deserve it. But you never know. Also Zoetert, so we'll see on Sunday what is going to happen. And now the highlight of the show, the beer top 3.
I was going to quickly ask Laird.
Okay.
New York City FC.
Maybe New York update.
Because I know obviously, New York got the Knicks behind you. You've also got what looks to be a signed Carlos Hill. So rare player. No, so rare card behind you. He's not performing so well this season, I think, from a so rare point of view, is he? But I don't
He's
know.
been pretty good lately.
Oh, okay, yeah, it shows how much I care about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, MLS and so rare together. Yeah.
I
IRL
was
point of view from you.
so like when I lived in New York City FC didn't exist. Like they hadn't started the club yet, and as soon as the club launched, I was like, I'm going all in. And like the first few years, I was all in, and then I was just like, I just was never really into MLS anyway, and it felt so forced. And it was like 2 or 3 years ago where I like started to fall out of it, and then I've just like been completely gone. I think as soon as David Villa retired, I was like, all right, I'm going out too.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Crikey, I was trying to think of players I know of currently playing there or knew who used to play there, and I'm actually kind of disappointed in myself that David Villa wasn't the one that popped up. Well, what popped up is Maxi Morales, but
He's still there.
Didn't he left and then came back, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Did he go to Argentina or something like that and came back? Yeah. So I got that.
Yeah.
I got that knowledge there.
There you
Got
go.
that bit of knowledge. Yeah, but you're not a. Have you got any favoritism towards any MLS side, or is it literally just purely neutral? You just hope whoever wins, as long as it's not. Or there teams that you dislike? Teams you don't want to win the MLS.
So it's funny because like everyone, because I'm American, everyone's like, oh, he must like love MLS. But for a long time, it was easier for me to watch Premier League matches than it was MLS matches. And so like watching international, like as I call it, European football is easier to watch for the most part than MLS. And because I tend to watch like football during the day, like MLS is on at night. So like by the time MLS is on, I'm like, I'm watching other stuff at this point. Like I've already watched my football for the day. But the Red Bulls called themselves the New York Red Bulls. They called themselves the New York Red Bulls, but they're not actually in New York. And so when New York City FC launched, like their whole branding was like, we are actually in New York. And so I jumped on that and I'm like, yeah, Red Bulls aren't in New York. Like, I don't necessarily hate the Red Bulls, but if they lose every game, I'm perfectly content.
Love that. You don't particularly like someone, but you just have a. Can you say favorite hate side? What do you even call that?
Something like that.
Yeah, team you hate the most. Yeah, your favorite hate. Your favorite hate. But yeah,
Favorite hate.
Go on, Calva. You can bring up the next topic now.
Yeah, well, the beer thing. Well, maybe I could say, so did you drink beer in those stadiums? But in general, do you like beer? Are you a drinker of beer?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
I will say I drink less beer now than I ever have in my life, which is probably just for the healthier point of view. But I have thought about this every episode that I listen to. I was like, what would I add to this list? And I'm just going to start by saying that I'm going to offend a lot of people with what I'm
Oh no, it's not Budweiser, is it?
Oh God! No.
Okay,
Bud Light Lime. No. So I think IPAs are absurdly overrated. I hate every single one of them. And I am convinced that if they had the alcohol content of a Budweiser, nobody would drink them. And I say this about kale also, that I don't think anybody really likes to eat kale, but because it's good for them, they eat it. And so I think because people get a nice buzz from IPAs, they're like, I love these. And it's like, well, yeah, you say that after you have a couple of them. Like, you love everything at that point. And so I'm willing to kick off every IPA that's ever been on the list, because I don't know how many are there now.
I don't think there's any now.
I don't think... no, I'll give you the top three. So first is Guinness. McBride put Guinness
right, McBride
there.
put that. I remember that
one. First one. Second is Orval. So we still have the Belgian monk beer. Alexis put it there. And the third one is, of course, the most controversial, LMP, non-alcoholic beer from Marky McLovin. So,
did Nep not do one?
No, Nep refrained.
No, because he
already added it before.
Dr. Pepper shenanigans.
It was
amaretto beer or something?
It was a pint of beer.
Yeah.
You said something like Peroni, and then put a shot of amaretto.
Yeah, something like that.
Which he said he will take no slander for, because we allowed a non-alcoholic beer to enter the list, which I think is fair enough, to be fair. But I think it doesn't take away from how criminal that suggestion was by putting a spirit inside of a pint.
You don't have to slander him, but I will. So I was thinking about this, and again, like I actually don't drink a lot of beer now. I drink more tequila just because it feels a lot cleaner to me. But anyway, so I was thinking beer drinking is really about like what you're doing when you consume it. And it's less about just like having a beer. It's like you have a long day of work, you have a beer to like calm you down. You're out with your friends and you're at the pub and everybody's got some, like, what's the situation where that's like the best beer in the best situation? And the one that came to me where it's like, this is how I want to enjoy the best beer, is a beer called Pacifico, which is like a Mexican lager. It's like same idea as like Corona, like you put in a lime in it and everything. But it's like it's like a really hot day and you're just like, you sit down, whether you're at a pool or at the beach or something, and you're just like, I just want like an ice cold beer to like cool me down with like just that hint of lime. And Pacifico is like the perfect beer for that. And so I'm going to put that on the list at number one.
Number one. Okay.
So that's probably the most controversial part of this. The non-alcoholic beer maintains its status as third place, so you've knocked out McBride's Guinness.
Pacifico. There we go.
I was like trying to compare the instances of where I would have them, and I just like, I really like the summer. I like being outside, and so the Pacifico like hit me, and like Guinness just feels like an inside winter beer that you just drink because you're inside. And I was like, that one's gone.
Okay.
So apologies to McBride, but
well, good choice.
Had he put his third, I would have kicked someone else.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's maybe tactically smart to have a second or third place in the first. But let's see how long Pacifico will last in this top three. So Pacifico number one, Orval, Alexis number two, and LMP. Non-alcoholic beer, Marky McLovin still number three. So now it's time for the official part. I think we've been recording almost an hour, but the spotlight. We're going to do that right now. So we always ask our guests, what's your MFL story? How did it all start for you, Laird?
Mine was Nep, but Nep wasn't the first one to like introduce me to, or he was the first one to introduce me, but I didn't hear about it from him. Like there were enough people. It was probably McBride was one of them, SR Monkey, like a bunch of so rare people who started playing MFL a couple months ago. And I would see it kind of on Twitter. And it was a classic, like I saw it and I was like, all right, that's just not for me. And I didn't do any content I didn't watch any content because I was like, that's just another game. They're happy, like whatever. And when NepentheZ started doing content about it, I was like, man, he must like it because he doesn't just like start talking about stuff just to do it. And he and I are quite friendly through So Rare. And so I watched, he probably had done like 3 or 4 videos when I watched the first one. And I was just like, man, and I have a few people who kind of give me a hard time because I'm fairly certain Nep could sell me anything. Like just the way that but again, he's like passionate about it organically. And so I was just watching these videos and I was like, this looks fun. It genuinely looks fun. And while I had no experience playing football management type games before, it wasn't because I played them and didn't like them. I never played them. And so I think I kind of pushed the idea aside early on, just like, oh, I don't play these games. But it really wasn't that. It wasn't that I don't play them and I'm choosing not to. I just hadn't found one that I watched and was like, oh, that looks fun. And he was saying actually that, because he'll do these like 8-hour streams where he does
they're
like
crazy Halloween.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And the worst part is he's like, you should try them. I'm like, I can barely sit for 2 hours, let alone like 8. But he was saying how he'll play FC24 and then he'll do So Rare and then MFL. And he was like, the number of people who are, when I start playing MFL, are like, whoa, what is that? That looks really cool. And I was like, all right, whatever. And so I started watching his videos and I was like, this does look pretty cool. And so I signed up. I assume I used his referral link. But I actually don't know. Speaking of which, I look back, I meant to bring this up earlier. Slippery Fish was my 8th referral,
okay.
Which I didn't know until I literally just looked it up.
So Slippery Fish
MFL
won the quiz also a bit because of you. Because you,
yeah. So hopefully I'll get some MFL something for that, for part of the referral there.
Half of the rare player that I've
from. But yeah, that's pretty much what it was. That his excitement over the game got me to play, and as soon as I started playing, I was like, oh, I get it. Like I get why you like this. I get why other people like it, and the more I started talking about it, even just in other Discords, people are like, oh, I play, like, and it just kind of started snowballing from there. And then, I did that stream, like, can Nep convince me to play, which I hadn't signed up before that, but I was all but certain I was going to. And then literally right after that stream, it was like, okay, let's go. Like, I'm going to sign up. And then as soon as I did, I was like, man, I have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And I had done the stream with Nep and it was like, all right, who can I go to like help me figure this out? And it's like, I found you guys. Like you search MFL and it's like, oh, I had like all of Calva's like, this is literally how you play this game. And then Jimbo, I think I caught one of your streams and I was like, I got to talk to one of them because like, that's how I learn. And so Jimbo, thank you for coming on that like very early MFL stream that I did because, I really had no idea what I'm doing. Not that I have any idea what I'm doing now, but I'm at least comfortable enough to speak about it. And I've just had a blast. And part of the way that I enjoy things is talking about them with other people. And I have, due to my experience in So Rare, where I am very passionate about it, but no one in my regular life has any care about So Rare. That it's like, all right, I had to learn to like talk to a camera and have other people either on the other side of the camera or in a live chat and use that as kind of the mechanism that I talk about it and just work through some ideas. And so transferring that to MFL was just very easy to me. Like I wanted to talk about it with other people and, just the first few videos I did were more just like, what do I do? Because I didn't know what to do. And so, that's like where it started. And I don't do them as often now because I kind of have an idea of what I want to do. But that was just kind of like the whole progression of how I got it, and then like why I am where I am right now.
And what are like so you slowly got more and more excited. Do you remember what elements were the most exciting, like that triggered you or made you enthusiastic to start playing?
I think once I realized what the progression was, like how it worked, or at least how it fits in the whole part of the game, where it wasn't just spend as much as you can on these players so that you can win your league and move up and like that's it. And that from a day-to-day or like hour-to-hour time frame, you can do something and get something out of the game, and that there's more to celebrate than just wins or promotions, or at least moving up in the table. And I don't remember exactly like what point it was, but there was at some point, and I don't think it was when I did the Trust the Process show, but it might have been that one where it was like, you can have an extremely successful and rewarding time on MFL and never win a league. And like that's wild in a game where you're like, well, it's the game, the point's kind of to win, right? But if you can have all of these kind of little smaller victories all the time, it just, that seemed really fun. And like that's you guys talk about it all the time, which I think I've said to Jimbo before, but like it's so important for people to appreciate that part of it, that most of the people who are here early, and everybody here is like, oh, Web3, if you're here early, it's such a huge advantage, blah, blah. And it's like, sure, but they're here because it's fun. Like they're not here because they're getting filthy rich. And so the more that each small individual thing where I was like, oh, that's fun. It just felt like there were so many of them. And I was like, oh, this is all really fun. And then I was just like, I'm in. That's it.
Awesome. Yeah.
All in.
Yeah.
Don't know why I just felt such an American phrase.
Yeah, it's lovely to hear, and exactly what we kind of preach indeed, that there's like, some people are like, oh, but I can never beat Ronin, right? Oh, I can never beat Ronin, so why would I ever join? But it's about all of those other types of winning, or small victories, as you call it, small steps. Yeah, just maybe a spark to ice is a huge victory, huge achievement, huge dopamine boost, and then having that one talent who, you can kind of grow, race, and then pain in your heart, you sell it, but that allows you to do other things, and there's so much more to it, and we keep talking about that indeed. And
it's not just about like promotions or massive progression. I found extreme enjoyment, maybe not so much this season, but just maintaining my position in bronze. I don't have I have, for the last 4 seasons, including this one, I've been the favourite to go out on every season, but finishing 9th and 8th, or 8th and 8th and then 4th, I take immense pride in that, and it's so fun and entertaining to sort of like, overperform and have that success, well, in my own eyes, success. And I've spoken to you before about this, and on the pod as well, so many different ways to have fun. It can be, like you said, those mini victories, mini wins in season. It can be promotion, it can be progression, it can be, X, Y, Z, flipping packs of floaty. There's different ways to have fun in this game. So it's great to see that majority of people have got that mindset. And I'm so happy that when you were doing all your streams and when you've been doing them, that's a sort of approach that you've been highlighting to your loyal fans as well. So everyone, I think it just emphasizes and grows this sort of positive community off the back of it, that everyone's sort of in a healthy and positive mindset.
And we're also cultivating that. Like sometimes people come in general like, oh, so how do I make money? Or what is profitable? And people are like, whoa,
I think people even sarcastically answer those, but they're just, they're just like, oh yeah, well you can do this, you could do this, but it's not.
Often people say, if you're in the
thing.
wrong place, buddy, you're like, if this is your first question, you're.
It's always on pack drop day, and everyone goes, so how much will the rare pack sell on floaty? And I think it's Obi was like, he was taking the piss out of them or something, like big time. And I just found it so funny. It's like, if you just did about 6 clicks, mate, you could find the answer out yourself. But you just want to know what's the biggest ROI for you to grab and resell. I find those people so. It's always a day of pack drops as well. You can just time it. It's always a pack drop day.
Yeah, I think it's the number. It's not that many, but I obviously refer to a lot of people who played So Rare, and the difficulty with going from sort of MFL is how much money you've made is kind of how you know if you're doing well on So Rare, and that's not the point here on MFL. And so, or at least that's not the point I'm here. Yeah. And so somebody asked me, I think in one of the, I don't know if it was in the live chat of one of my streams or in one of the comments, but it was like, how much have you put in and how much is everything worth or something like that? And I was like, I don't know how much I've put in. Like I could go back and look, but like, I put in enough where I comfortably don't know what it is. And so like, I don't know. Thank you to Disney as well. But the accounting part of the game, I just like, I don't think about. And I think that's what makes it healthier for a lot of people, because, I'm not trying to, I hate to say that I'm like trying to sell the game, but like I have a an affiliate deal with MFL. So like I do, when you sign up enough people, they want you to have an affiliate deal. But like, so theoretically I should be selling the game, but I don't sell it in any way that is not how I play it, which is like for fun. And I had this for a while on So Rare, and I don't look at it quite as much the same. But like for MFL, a lot of people give the example like, well, if I want to win, enough, or earn enough, whether it's flipping packs or opening packs and selling those players where like I'm even, and then I'll take my money out. And then I know that like I'm playing for free at this point. And my response is like, all right, well, like if I did that, I would take the money out, and then I would want to use that money for like some sort of entertainment, like playing a football management game that has, and it's like I would put the money right back in anyway. Like this is what I choose to spend my money on, my hobby game money. And so the idea of how much am I pulling out just it doesn't cross my mind. Like genuinely, I just don't think of it.
Someone commented in your live stream today. Can't remember who it was. It was either after you opened either limited or kickoff pack. I think it was limited because it was $14.99. And someone went, I think when you were sort of going, I'm not quite as sort of if I like the players, and they saw, his age, he's too small, he's not got good enough shooting, etc., etc. And someone went, well, you spent $15. Like, how much entertainment are you going to get if you spent $15 on something else? And then when you speak it relative terms, and you go, actually, what would that have got me? A couple drinks, or I don't know, half a cinema ticket maybe, or something like that. So I think you have to look at it in the bigger picture.
Yeah, no, exactly.
I think they phrase it as, did you have $15 worth of fun?
No, that's it.
Like,
yeah.
Maybe I did. You're right.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. And maybe it'll be $1,000 worth of fun when that guy becomes a 93-year-old,
and it's not just
93 rated.
And it's not just $15 of fun for that minute or couple minutes when you open
right.
it. It's now, well, actually, if he's say 20 years old, that's just say minimum of 12 seasons. Oh, look at that, a year and a half. So I've got a year and a half worth of fun with this one player. Think of all the memories you could create, all the limbs you could be having in your room right now when he scores a last-minute equaliser, all that sort of thing.
For sure.
Yes. So speaking about fun, how is season 5 going for you?
I feel it was like the first half was fun, and now I feel like there's some inherent pressure on the team that I care about the most, which is Empire FC, that sits third now, has been projected first the entire time. So clearly the engine is at fault for where I am,
of course,
and not managerial decisions at all.
No way.
But I feel it's a positive not nervousness. Maybe it is. I don't know. That like I need to get in. I want to win the league, and my plan was never to have like an OP team for Spark to get out early, but it just ended up that way. It's not like incredibly overpowered, and I'm third, so it's not like I'm the only one in the league that did it, but I'm starting to feel like some pressure that I need to win this league, and this pack drop was supposed to help me get the final 3 pieces to get there, and maybe it gave me one.
Good. Yeah, we were talking about Spark, right? Like everyone trying to get out or has a location they love, and I feel like that's the most promotion stacking pressure. So you experience that right now. But
did you? Because Laird, you joined during midway through season 4. You took part in Redemption Cup, which, if I recall correctly, you won your first game, and then we won't speak about the remaining games. Was there anything or did joining midway through a season help you better prepare for season 5? Did you, when you realised how season 4 was going, that second half of it, you went, I can start preparing for season 5 now, I get to understand a bit more of the game. Did that benefit you, or was it just like individual seasons?
I think it was hugely beneficial, and going on like a cup run would have helped, but I'm not sure it would have changed it drastically. But there's a friend of mine that signed up last week. I think they're like in the Redemption Cup now. And the question, obviously, like they're new, so they have all these questions. They joined mid-season, and I'm like, oh, I had these exact same questions. So I don't know if that means they're on the right path or the wrong path, but I think it was extremely helpful not to have to do an entire season right away. And I get the draw of starting that way, but I do think it was helpful in that respect. But I also appreciate that the way that I got into the game is very different than most people, like because of the number of people that signed up with my referral link. Like I have a lot of players I would never buy anyway, but like I ended up with a lot of players. And so I try to be conscious of that when I'm speaking to people who are starting, because I was like, no, and I'm like, oh wait, I didn't have to buy 20 players, like, or however. I mean, I did buy packs and stuff, but I was just like very appreciative of all these people who were using my referral link because it allowed me to get more players. But being able to figure out, formations and tactics and play around with stuff during the Redemption Cup and not feel like I have no idea what I'm doing and have that last an entire season, that it was like, oh, these 6 games, okay, I've proven to myself I didn't know what I was doing, but now I think I know what I'm doing because of that experience. And so it did feel like an advantage that I only had to have half of the season of learning, basically, in order to figure out like what I wanted to do moving forward. And it's tough to like sign people up and they're like, but it's mid-season, I can't play. And you're like, well, there's the cup, and they're like, eh. And yet I found that experience very helpful just because you don't want to just sit last for an entire season. You just be like, oh, now I'm stuck with all these players and I don't know really what I'm doing.
Because how many times, especially like even now, people come from season 5 and go, oh, I learned so much in my first 2 weeks. I would have done things differently. And because you joined mid-season, and like many others, you almost had that warm-up and get, the little tease as to what managing in a full season will be like. So you don't have to make those mistakes, or you already made those mistakes. You've learned a lot. And I've always said that your first full season will be when a steep learning curve in some respects, because you're fully immersed in the whole season. Whereas actually that Redemption Cup, yes, it may not have the greatest rewards, but it gives you a little feel for how MFL the game will be when you do your first full season. And I think new users joining now shouldn't discredit that knowledge you can gain from those first couple of weeks if you're joining mid-season. Yeah,
no, I think it's totally, I would call it like the easiest way to onboard into actually playing the game. And I think I've said this before on stream, and I don't think people believe me, but like, I don't think at all about the amount of MFL that I'm going to win. Like, I just want to finish as high as possible with my teams that can do so. I want my players to progress. And maybe once I start actually winning enough MFL where I can get more players, it'll change. But I just don't really think of it that much. And I will say, like, the single thing that I feel like I still have no concept on, and it's probably just because I'm in Spark and that's what I'm used to, but like, you guys see a fill in the number rated player and you're like, he's perfect for bronze, or like, he's perfect for silver, he's perfect for stone. And I'm just like, I see it and I'm like, I have no idea, much higher than where I am. So you'll figure it out, I'm sure. But I think like once I figure that out, I'll have like a better concept of just like where everyone fits in the game.
Yeah. Experience is like a sort of quality that you just in life you cannot fast track. You have to you have to embrace and experience it to gain that knowledge and experience. You can't sort of wake up one morning and suddenly you've played 10 seasons MFL and you've gained all that knowledge from how to be a successful manager. You've got to wait 6 weeks basically to figure out if you're a dud or not.
Yeah, also the discussion with someone about positions and where they can play and about ratings. And yeah, for us, it's like we don't even think about it anymore, Jimbo. Like, we just instantly see, like when we just see any card, we can instantly tell maybe, oh, he's much better in that position, or he's, this looks like a great guy there, or we don't even realize that. We're kind of just out. We have so much data from 2 years kind of internalized.
Sad.
And then that's how it is. Right?
I can't memorize the numbers on the overall matrix chart though. I just know that I think 0% for left mid, right mid, centre mids.
Yeah,
that's all I know.
No, but I mean also with like about contracts, right? Yeah, contracts, or like we have noticed strength creep. But I think still we kind of have a feeling where should he kind of be and for what percentage. And then when season 6 opens, when I list my guys, I kind of know, okay, this is a good fair amount. I also want to wait too long to get people signed. And yeah, for others it takes way more time, and you need to develop that kind of feeling. But just keep playing, I guess, and you'll get there.
Exactly.
Are there any other areas you feel like you learned a lot, or you need to make some steps, or let's just say like this is the hardest part?
I think the biggest thing that my biggest fault in the game is relying too much on overall ratings. And I would argue that my teams are not set up well at all. They're not really set up effectively that I don't look at individual attributes and say like, I don't use high pace players because in certain situations I don't have them, I just was like, oh, this guy's 64 and this guy's 63. So I'll just put the 64 in and move on. And I think the next level for me on MFL is kind of figuring out what attributes work well together and in which positions and how to use them tactically or in an appropriate way tactically. That is like, that's my next step, but like that's step 10 and I'm at step 2. And so like, I'll get there at some point, but I just feel like that's the part that I'm always struggling with, that I'll bring it up in a Discord. Like I have this player, but if I play him here, if I play him at right wing, he's 64, but Cam, and I have this other guy, and there's always like one or two people who immediately have like the right answer. And they're like, you just do this. And I'm like, I'm just so far away from that.
Yeah, that was also yesterday with Nap a bit. Like we were looking at some pools, and yeah, sometimes a right winger, left winger has like super bad shooting but very high passing, or the other way around. Yeah, for which tactic do you use it? Or the right mid he was a bit unhappy about, but I was like, he has pretty good defending, so it's actually a great pool. While other right left mids have super bad defending, and then I feel in a 4-4-2 you're really exposing your wings with such a weak defending guy trying to hold it. While in a 4-2-3-1, I think it matters less because they're higher up the field and they're more functioning as wingers. So yeah, all of those thoughts indeed. There's way more fine tuning, of course, with overalls. It is way more nuanced indeed, and you can really get an edge, I think, if you set it up.
So I totally agree, and it's the nuance I think that will take me the longest to figure out. But there's so much noise in what we have, of like, we have all these attributes, and guys who are progressing, like guys who've progressed will obviously continue to progress forever. Guys who've never progressed, no, get them because they haven't progressed yet. And one of my favorite things about fantasy sports is like, there are a lot of things, there's so much data, and most of it really doesn't matter. And knowing what matters and what doesn't is what makes people better at it than others. And I feel like it applies in this game as well, that there's so much data. Like the one recently of like how formations play against each other. And I'm like, that's data, but it's also like, I think it's just all noise at this point. And I think, Jimbo, you were looking at during the stream the other day and you were like, well, this formation, has won 68% of the time. And you were like, 11 matches. And I'm like, can we get 1 million matches before we like decide what works and what doesn't? But then again, like your 352B is different than my 352B. And so I think when you have the opportunity when you have your hands at all of this data, you want it to be helpful. And most of the time it's not. It's like interesting and gets you, and I think looking at data that even is just noise can even make you start thinking about things differently. And that could open up a lot. But I do find that a lot of people in MFL, fantasy sports, wherever, kind of look at some piece of data and they're like, that's the answer. And it's like, it's not quite that easy. It's great that you think that and you can keep, go on and have fun. But my biggest thing right now is I have no idea what's helpful and what's noise. And that's my struggle, because I love data, but then when I see it, I try to be skeptical of it. But I haven't taken that next step of like figuring out how it's actually useful for me.
Yeah, I agree. Indeed, like does a formation tell so much when you can literally totally change with team instructions and individual instructions? So
Right,
What's,
yes.
what's the value then of that?
I-
The 1-4-4-2, park the bus against the 4-4-2, high pressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I think Josh said it quite well in the Ramble pod this week. He said that, you got people like Bob Orangefield, for example, who will play against the same manager like hundreds of times, the same club, and he will almost perfect the tactics for that one individual club. And obviously then to the point where he's winning near enough every game. And then if someone's winning every game against one club they've literally targeted against, does that then skew what your data is telling you? So I think, yeah, it's just doing your own, be like when you're doing floaty offers, do your own due diligence and make sure you understand the wallet address correctly.
Yeah. Definitely. It's very hard. And also about the progression thing, it's just too early to tell what we keep saying. It's like 5 seasons in. So a guy that hasn't been progressing for 5 seasons can be a late bloomer. Like maybe he had a 17-year-old and you were like, oh man, this is going to be super talent. Doesn't progress at all. But maybe now, 22, 23 is when he starts progressing like crazy. That can happen. We don't know yet because we haven't seen any case studies like that because we are only 5 seasons in. So we need maybe 5 more, maybe even 10 more to have a full grasp
if not more,
of like or have like finished careers to analyze. That is maybe valuable data, like similar comparable careers. Now we don't know, so there's it's also too early to tell with those kind of things.
I think people don't appreciate the kind of inconsistencies with small sample sizes, and they don't even really have a concept of like how small sample sizes really are. And so it's one of those that if you have all the data and you're like, oh, well, we have it all, and so like that must be enough. And it's like, well, you might have 100 data points and realistically we need 1 million. And like, so yes, it seems like you have a lot because you have them all, but it's still just not that many data points. And being able to, not that there's like a magic number where we're like, oh, now we have enough. Now we know that the 18-year-old Russian center mid with 58 shooting will obviously progress here. Like we won't ever get there. And so just being able to figure out, like I said before, like what's noise and what's not is going to be the biggest, like that's where the edge is, I think, in the game.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. So
speaking, even when you look at how many games there have been in the history of NFL, there's only been about like 700,000 games have been used since the inception. We're not even at that million point yet, and that's obviously more than 20, 30, 40 different engine variants that have been in there. So now we're looking at and throughout all those 700,000 games, for the first say 100,000, they could have only been about 6 formations then, which obviously I know Alexa's thing is you can filter through the engines, but yes, it's one thing looking at data, it's another thing being able to interpret what it means.
Yeah, definitely.
Gosh.
So we had another question, a bit more looking at the future of MFL itself and new features or things they can add to make it more engaging, more fun, more interactive. So are there any features you would love to see in MFL?
I'm going to steal this one from somebody that was in my Discord because they mentioned it today. And I was like, oh, that's a really good one. I'll also say that some of the things that people want on MFL probably are better for sites like MFL Assistant or MFL Manager to do that they don't really have to be on MFL.
Yeah,
that's another thing that when I was at SoRare Data, we dealt with for years. It's like, is this a tool we should be doing, or is this something SoRare should be doing? Or is that something SoRare shouldn't be doing, so we should? So, but the one that I thought was great was, so there are, you can see your latest transactions. You can see your anybody's latest transactions like on their HQ. But somebody was like, I would love to see league transactions. So you can see if anyone has added players basically today and through this window, just so you know if you're prepared. And instead of like going to their page and be like, oh, who's new, going to their clubs, who's new. So some sort of like league transactions I would like to see.
Yeah, like a league dashboard. I think we talked about it also with Nep a little bit, but more flavor, that you have kind of a league dashboard. You see top scorer, top assist, but maybe also yellow cards, red cards, or winning streaks or losing streaks. You get like a quick overview, or like your past performances against this team. Yeah, like such a league dashboard that adds a bit more depth and flavor, and that would be great indeed.
I don't think I genuinely think this is something that they could whip up in like a week or two, just on the basis that on the scouting tab right now, you can look at latest signings per rarity per division. We're just after that next bit of filtering, saying, right, we've got what division we want. Can we now go to what league we want? And that's basically what we're asking for. But have that not within the scouting page, have that within the league page, or have that within when you click view more on your club page to go to the league, for example. I would like that because I haven't done it for a while, but I used to go through and go, oh, is the person above me now strengthened? And I'm going, oh, he has. Oh, I might need to think about bringing some extra strength in as well. And you sort of, that sort of realization of, I might be in trouble.
That's great.
I like that.
I would love to see it, and indeed, I think it's feasible. So hopefully, the team is listening, and we can get something like that. Any other things you thought about, or if you want to dream big, like a couple of years down the line, what would be?
I think the only one is like the match engine, if we can get it to 3D. Like everybody has always mentioned it, and I know it's like a very far off thing, but even I will say that watching little arrows go one way and then, or dots go with line dots and then the little dots, like it's shockingly attentive to shockingly interesting, keeps me attended. Which I never thought, like when I remember on one of like Nep's earliest videos, he was like watching it and I was like, this is the game that Nep is like getting all excited. And then once you have a team and you're just like, oh, all right. And I remember I was watching one of my first matches just in the 2D, and I decided to watch the entire thing in 2D and didn't realize that the highlights were faster. Like obviously they are, but I didn't realize they were, like that you knew the result before the 2D was over. And so somebody sent a message and they were like, oh, that's a tough one. And I was like, huh? I'm like, oh. But then Jimbo, like with the watch alongs, you watch the highlights. And I was like, but the 2D, watching an entire match in 2D is extremely boring because you just have like no idea when anything is coming. And so the highlight part of it is actually great because you're like, something's going to happen. I don't know if it's a goal or anything, but like something's going to happen. And I joked that I watched, so for years, I would like stream football matches, like IRL football matches, but I would always have goal notifications on, and usually the goal notifications are faster than streaming. And so I would get the notification, and like a lot of people are like, that kind of ruins it because like now you know a goal is coming. But I'm like, now I know a goal is coming. Like now I'm like focusing on it and like,
can start building it up kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Particularly I'm like, how did they score? Like they don't even have the ball. And it's like, oh, look all across the field. So it's, but yeah, I think I almost feel like I haven't played the game long enough for me to be like, this is what would make this so much better, because I still, to this day, I'm just like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if they, and they're like, yeah, you just click this one button and that's how you do it. And I'm like, oh, great, thanks.
Yeah, but 3D is definitely, it's been a hashtag before, kind of when 3D, people keep using it, and definitely in the future. And if we speak really metaverse, like VR glasses or AR and watch it, and maybe it's your AI guys that we don't want, that becomes too real, but it could be something in the future. We also don't know where technology goes, of course, but let's see. That's cool. Then, well, I don't know, time constraint wise, we have about supply discussion, Jimbo. And
I think we're fine. Yeah, I sent this one. You sent this one to you lads to beforehand, and I sort of wanted to, I guess, not tie it in with So Rare, but obviously ask it because of there's always been a thing with So Rare about supply of players and X, Y, Z, and obviously that there is some similarities with MFL where it's a supply based game with cards, etc. And obviously yesterday we had the mid-season pack drop, and there was a hot debate. I think it's particularly over the weekend actually, of the amount of packs on offer in comparison to the pre-season. And I think it all got squashed when Matt came in with like a big 4 bullet point message saying like, this is the reason why, and everyone was like, oh, the word has been spoken. Matt has put down his sword, sort of thing. With some users saying that there'd been too many packs had been introduced for this pack drop. I just wanted to know really if you had any thoughts on that. Was there anything you've ever considered before? Because some people go, oh, I've been in games before where they've oversupplied things, and like Ultimate Champions, or they often won the raid to is something like So Rare, for example. So I wondered if you had initial thoughts on that.
So I think the reason why I don't think about it that much is because supply concerns usually revolve around what the value is of those things that the supply is of. And I don't care.
Yeah.
Like genuinely, like I forget which, I had pulled a fairly good card out of a pack once. Someone was like, oh, what's that worth? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. And I didn't know and didn't care to even look. And so I did a trade with Trust the Process, and we were trying to figure out like how many players of his I would get. And he basically did the work for me. He was like, this is what I think your player is worth. I think my players are worth this. He actually went well and beyond any effort that I would put in. But he was like, if you look at these recent ones, this is how I got the valuations. And I was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. And it was genuinely the first time I'd ever thought about what my players were worth. And when it comes to supply, obviously, so people who care about what their players are worth care about that, because more supply, theoretically, their players aren't worth as much. From a game perspective, obviously, like if they flood the market with Legos, then it's like easier to get Legos, and it then becomes harder to win because more people have Legos. But I'm just not there yet. I'm currently competing at the bottom where there are more than enough options to not win Spark. And so like from a game perspective, I can't see it. Like I'm not in the upper tiers where somebody's like, yeah, they're just like way too many Lego, or there are way too many rares, or just like, I don't feel that way. And so, because I just don't experience it in the game. So it's really, I'm completely out of my element when in speaking about supply, but I'll speak. I can't speak enough about the supply. The demand, like these things sell out in a second.
Yeah.
So like obviously people want to buy them, and you can make the argument, well, they're only selling on the second because people are flipping them on floaty, and it's like, well, yeah, they're
people are still
the
buying.
Demand is there too.
Yeah.
Like, right. Like I don't think they would ever do this, but I bet they could have doubled the packs from yesterday and they would have sold out. And I will say that the standard pack was available. Like, I don't know if they added some at the end, or at some point somebody was like, hey, there are 15 standard packs left. And I was like, I would buy another one. I couldn't because it's one max per, but like if you didn't limit that, those sell out too. And so I just don't think that from a demand standpoint, they're actually from a supply standpoint, they're not meeting the demand. Like there is still more demand than there is supply. I don't know if that continues, but for right now, they raise it because there are more people playing the game. And I don't know if that's bad if it continues.
And ultimately there's a deflationary mechanic within the game with retirements as well. It's not like just the constant, the card base, the player base, not talking about users, but the player base continually grows. I reckon we get to a point where, I think even Taggart mentioned this to me months ago, where the player pool just sort of sits within like a range and peaks and troughs throughout seasons as players come in, players retire, players come in, players retire. And I guess if demand grows and grows, and that slowly increases, but it's not like a massive jump and then it sits. It's more natural and organic supply growth rather than reactive. And I think MFL, for as long as we've known the Calva, have always been very methodical with how they've done things. And I think Matt even said like they could have increased it by more, but they didn't. They could have there is a potential there. Yeah. But I think just the unprecedented demand we've seen recently. So
they carefully balance, and there's still within the pyramid like space also to expand with like iron clubs and ice clubs and stone and spark. That soaks up demand too. New users soak up demand, and then supply can go there. So yeah, I think and the team does really balance it well. They know also they had this change with the new tiers and the changes to supply that make rare a bit more rare, rebalance that. So I think they're totally on it. And but I think the big, I think Big Robert made this point. The biggest worry was that it maybe is unfair competition wise, that now everyone can get a couple of great extra players and then add them to like a cup side in round of 16. And I think there was a little.
I guess the argument is a bit like the engine last week. Everyone's in the same boat in that situation.
That is true.
Right?
Yeah,
everyone can go buy the packs and upgrade. So I guess that's.
Yeah, I think that was the issue.
The devil's advocate part of it.
Yes. All right. So we always have our last question is from the last guest, and then you can ask a question for the next guest, Laird. So the last question was from Nep. Would you rather start from the bottom, like a fresh club, or buy a club higher up? What is more exciting?
Didn't he call them like a dirty club?
I think so.
Yeah, he was like,
it could be that was like a dirty.
I think that was in there, and I think I took out the question. I didn't
but it's also a bit about spark, a fresh spark or someone else's club higher up, starting higher up.
So I think about this a lot because I obviously started in Spark, and I think that the way that Spark works now is not how it's supposed to work, and that's just like because of the user kind of increase that we've had, which I think I was going to do like an entire video on that at one point. I wanted to talk to you guys about it, and that's I think like a 2-hour conversation in itself. But I chose to start in Spark, and I don't know if it's partly because I watched Nep's videos and got that feeling of like, why would you ever buy a used club? Like, why would and so I get that, but the funny thing that I've noticed, and we've all noticed it who are in Spark, there's this idea of like, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up. But are you really doing that if you buy like a club full or a bunch of like iron level players and play them in Spark and Ice and Stone? And then once you get up to iron, you're like, here I am. And it's like, well, yeah, but like, did you really go through the process of, and I'm not here to tell anyone how to play, but I just find it very like this, it's this very like bipolar, like I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way up with these 80 rated players that will just blast everybody. But so, yeah, I preferred to start at the bottom, but based on the players that I've acquired that I have to loan out because they're way too good for Spark. I think I'm going to have to buy a higher club in order if I want to play those guys at some point, because for the amount of time it's going to take my Spark team to get up to bronze or silver, where some of my players are currently playing, not many of them, but some of them, it'll just take too long. And then like those guys will be retired. And it's like, oh, now that I'm here, the guys I got here for are gone. But so yeah, I started in Spark. But I totally understand why people don't want to do that. Like Bob Orangefly had this huge thing. He talked about it with you guys where he's like, I know I want to compete at the top, so I'm just going to start there. Like, why am I going to waste my time?
He just wants to win.
Yeah, I just want to win.
As quick as possible.
Yeah. And so he's like, I know that I want to compete in Platinum. Why am I going to start in Spark? And it was like, all right, yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
Fair enough. Indeed.
Big ambitions.
Yes. And what would be your question for our next guest?
So I love all the questions that have happened previously, but I think mine is a little more not metaphorical, but it's a little more philosophical, I'll say.
Ooh.
And it's one that I brought it up in one of my own streams, and one of the comments from that stream made me completely change how I feel about it. And then Trust the Process commented on the video and completely disagreed with my new opinion. And so I'm just kind of curious.
Okay, so I'm very interested now. Yeah.
Is the point of MFL to win the Diamond League?
Would love to already start debating that, but I think we need to leave it for the next guest to not steal.
But I'm excited to hear what other people have to say about this, because I actually don't even want to say any more about it because I don't want to influence the whoever answers next week.
Yeah.
But that's the question.
Yeah, I can see how it's philosophical indeed. There's a couple elements how you approach this, and I like it. I like it. So I'm looking forward to asking that to the next guest, the cliffhanger for next time.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a long time. Nearly done more than 90 minutes actually. So we've got into Qatar World Cup added time now, or even was it the Russia World Cup, which had lots of added time to it. Nonetheless, today's hashtag, in honor of the most recent question given to Laird about would you rather start from the bottom with a fresh club or buy a club higher up with a bit of history? Dirty club, as I think Nep actually conned it. You've got a choice of hashtags. Hashtag fresh club, hashtag dirty club. Which club are you... If you were to buy a club now, would you want to go for a fresh club or a dirty club? Let us know with the hashtag on YouTube, Twitter, or X, formerly known as Twitter, whatever you want to call it. And also our Discord as well. In every single Discord you're in, even if it's not MFL related, please just go and type in hashtag fresh club, hashtag dirty club. Before we wrap up this episode, I want to say a massive thank you to Laird for coming on today's episode. It's been a long time coming. We've been patient on our side and on your side as well. But you've been tremendous in the studio today, and I hope you've had a great time. You've been a great guest. Thank you for being on.
No, thanks for having me. Thanks for all the shows that you guys do. It's like I said, it's a tremendous add to the community. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And if you've not checked out Laird's content, whether it be MFL, So Rare, all the wonders that he does, we'll leave his channels in the show notes description below. And if you're in the Discord, we have the important links channel, and you can also find Laird's channel within there, amongst a host of other wonderful MFL content creators we have within this great community. So, without further ado, hashtag fresh club, hashtag dirty club. Thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you this time next week in an episode of the WenDirkCast. Thank you for listening.